Yep, back again. Oh no, says the audience. What audience? Could do with a few more. Never mind. Now, I've got a really interesting question for you. And it fits absolutely perfectly with why I'm doing all of these PM versus CM chapters. The question actually came from somebody who attended my PMI Belgium gig last month. No names, GDPR. And the question was simply, how likely is it that the future of the project management function or profession will move into a change management function and become less technical? Interesting. Right. Hang on a minute. Let me just get my crystal ball. I don't think so. Seriously. The extremely short answer is, in my opinion, it's unlikely. But obviously, I couldn't finish the video there, so I'll qualify that. There will always be a necessity for technical expertise, given the advances in technology today. So there will always be that necessity for technical know-how. And this falls, at the moment, on the shoulders of the project manager. At the moment, with the increasing advancement of technology, there will always have to be someone who is technically able and astute enough to understand the sometimes extremely complex issues involved with the technology implementation, whatever it may be. That's the way the profession has evolved over the years, and I see no changes to that coming about at any time soon. I would also say, at this stage, a change manager does not necessarily need such in-depth technology knowledge, but they will need to know enough to be able to understand the impact of the technology implementation on processes, organisational structures, job roles and responsibilities, etc., etc., etc. This, fortunately or unfortunately, means that the project manager will have little time to focus on combining the people side of change with the technology side of change. But as we know, they both need to be managed as well as each other. There's an old Frank Sinatra song. Yeah, sorry, I'm going to sing. And I'm going to show my age as well. It goes, love and marriage, love and marriage go together like a horse and carriage. Let me tell you, brother, you can't have one without the other. Sorry. I'm going to come up with another one later on as well. Just replace horse with project management and carriage with change management. Do you get my drift? So, personally, I think the project management function will continue, and it may be that change management moves more into the project management function. Lots of organisations already have project management offices, PMOs, and I know some of those have incorporated change management into that function. In other organisations, I've heard of change management offices, CMOs, but I think they act kind of as a separate entity who supply projects with change management expertise. What I can see is a coming together of these two entities as a single cohesive unit, looking after both project and change management. How about something like Project Realisation Office, combining both disciplines, But a word of caution here, because the disciplines in terms of roles and responsibilities do not necessarily align and are sometimes in contradiction of each other. What do I mean by that? Okay, let me explain. Earlier, I mentioned combining the people side of change with the technology side of change. Well, that's not quite as easy as it sounds. That comment is based on the fact that project managers and change managers have different perspectives when working on projects. Just let me give you a few examples. A PM sees the organisation as a structured hierarchy, whilst the CM sees the loosely connected group, not necessarily with any structure. A PM is expert at dealing with plans, resources and data, whereas a CM is an expert at dealing with people and how they behave, sometimes not very well. So, a PM performs at their best when faced with certainty and predictability, whereas a CM does so when faced with ambiguity and unpredictability. A PM concentrates on a time horizon of up to go live, whilst a CM looks well beyond go live. A PM is rewarded for delivering to time, to cost and quality and sometimes scope, as opposed to a CM who gets rewarded for achieving business readiness plus usage and adoption targets. A PM will deal with facts and figures, whilst the CM deals with perceptions and emotions. A PM delivers primarily tangible results, while a CM can deliver both tangible and intangible results. And a PM primarily needs to be structured, whereas a CM needs to be flexible. So, given these different perspectives, the difficulty would be to try and bring them closer together to achieve the right kind of synergy of project management and change management within a single individual. I think maybe, I mentioned this before in a previous video, but again, it does no harm to repeat stuff. You know what they say about repeating and communication. Since the role of the project manager has expanded significantly, most do not have the capacity or capability to learn change management. No, I'm not having a go at project managers, by the way. I'm just stating a fact. I'm sure some of you out there will argue that perspective. So come on, give it to me straight. What's your view? Come on, let me have it. I don't mind. Broad shoulders. My view is, and again, I may have mentioned this before as well, a CM and a PM model of working in partnership is the way forward. A PM with a responsibility for change management, or conversely, a CM with a responsibility for project management, just puts too much pressure on an individual, and they may not necessarily have the right experience and skill set to manage both. But of course, there's always dependencies, and it depends on things like the project size, the project impact, the project's impact on the business, and the budget, to name but a few. Let me give you a couple of scenarios related to this. Organisation 1 is implementing a new ERP system which will impact 1,000 stakeholders and take about 9 months. Would you use just a PM, or a PM with some CM skills, or a PM and a CM? Organisation 2 is implementing a small front-end sales tool which will impact about 50 stakeholders and take about 5 weeks. Would you use just a PM or a PM with some CM skills, or a CM? Have a short think about it. Yeah. Okay, enough time. My answer is, number 1, the ERP implementation, a PM and a CM. Number 2, the sales tool, a PM with some CM skills. Simple. Having said that, on one of my previous projects, there were only 62 impacted stakeholders, and they chose to have a separate PM and CM because the implementation was across Singapore, Australia, Korea, and the Philippines. So small stakeholder base, but yeah, multiple country. So I hope you can see that there are many variables, and each organisation will treat the situation in different ways. Again, having said that, we are in an era where project managers are still the first choice to manage projects, and change managers are often afterthought. Did you see my change management better late than never post on LinkedIn? It went down quite well, actually. Just all about, in my experience, I've always been brought into projects late. So should this be No, it shouldn't. You should never be brought into a project late. That's my view. So, having rambled on for the last, 10 minutes or so, yeah, there's another old song, again, I'm going to show my age, by Doris Day and Frank DeVol. And I'd like to, I say quote, but no, I'll sing a line from it. Que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera, what will be, will be. I think that kind of sums up things quite nicely, doesn't it? Thanks again for listening to my ramblings. See you next time.